Soul is welcome here, but if you don't have any of these CDs, y'all can go right now. It's amazing. It's lyrics. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. You are welcome. My soul is welcome here. 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 You may have a seat. Thank you so much.
Now I will ask the chaplain to bring the prayer box forward and do the prayer box blessing.
Together, let us take a moment to pause. Breathing deeply, let us begin to move to that place, that still place within us. And as we go there, let us lift up the prayers in this prayer box in gratitude for their fulfillment to the highest good of all. And for this we say thank you. And so it is. Amen.
Now I would like Paul to read us the daily word.
My divine nature is unlimited. If I look only at my day-to-day human experiences,
first say our traditional Lord's Prayer, pause, and then move into another translation, and, well, we'll say it twice. The part of the point of that is following up on one of the vision statements about having more than a single Lord's Prayer. We're to look at other versions of that. And we're going to have the opportunity at the covered dish potluck to talk a little bit about that after the service. Okay, let us say the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Okay. Second version.
Blessed One, our Creator and Sustainer, holy is your name. May your love be revealed in our hearts and in the world. May your will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. Save us in the time of trial, and deliver us from error. Yours is the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
So I'm going to ask if you would please close your eyes and center yourself in yourself. So we've heard the song, your soul is, my soul is welcome here, your soul is welcome here. So if you would please take a deep breath into the belly and breathe out through the mouth and invite the soul to sit solidly inside while we go through this time together. Feel the heart and the soul connecting. Feel the heart expanding and feel the love that pours from within us as we experience what it feels like to have the connectedness of heart and soul. So we will just sit for a moment and feel how that feels. Just listen inside. See what comes forth for you today. Attention to your toes, to your feet. Feel your body all the way up your legs and your torso and your arms and your hands and your shoulders and your head. And feel how loving this space is and how your body responds to that love. And when you're ready, open your eyes and be present. So good morning from me. It's my honor to be here today to share with you Heart's Awakening And my apologies to either Debbie or Dean, whichever one I gave the opposite title to. But then I figured it doesn't matter. It's either Awakening Hearts or Hearts Awakening. It all means the same thing. So either way, we're going to talk about it today. I would like to begin by reading a little verse from 1 John chapter 3, verse 11 from the Lanza Bible. For this is the commandment that you have heard from the beginning, that you must love one another. Must. Now, in my profession of healthcare, the word must means you have to. Don't get an option, you have to. So I've been looking for some time, I've been looking for love in the world, to see how it is expressed, to see when hearts start waking up, love just begins to be there. You begin to see it everywhere, especially if your heart's waking up. And today you are the awakened heart, by the way, in case you missed that earlier. You are it. So this morning I watched Sunday Morning, which is my tradition on Sunday morning, I will confess. And I love it because it's almost always good news. It's almost, when I say good, it's almost always uplifting. Did anybody see it today, by the way?
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay, well there was this very sweet story. Steve Hartman does a wonderful thing.
What program is this?
Sunday morning, it's on CBS.
CBS.
At what time?
It comes on at 8 o'clock and is on for an hour and a half on CBS.
Thank you.
At least on my channel it does. I can't speak for all the different cables. So this morning there's a little boy named Quinn, who's 3 years old, who had a stem cell injection to combat a brain tumor when he was much younger. And it did take care of the brain tumor, but meanwhile it also compromised his immune system to the point that he cannot go outside his own house. His family will, the only people who can come into his house are his own family, and he can never go out, at least as long as he's in this condition. So he's looking out his window a lot. They're filming. He's looking out his window a lot. He goes to the door, you know, kind of like any kid would, kind of hits the door. And people begin to notice, and word starts getting around, and people begin to come to the window, and they begin to play with him a little. And then there's a guy who shows up with his guitar, and he starts playing him a song. And then the neighborhood kind of finds out there's something odd going on here, so people come from everywhere. Even an Irish dance troupe came, and they actually now have a cement pad, I guess, maybe, I don't know if they always had it, but anyway, the Irish dance troupe is there to entertain him. And then, of all dreams he had, the cops showed up with their lights flashing. So all of that is a loving, kind thing in our observation. And if we look, I think we see it more and more and more. So I left a little handout there by the bulletins in the back that has the Art of Spiritual Peacemaking prayer. Well, sort of a prayer. It's a reading from The Awakened Heart. And it says, how can you hold back when the whole universe is giving to you every moment? Your heart explodes and becomes a river of refreshment for all beings. They come to you with parched tongues, and they drink from the grace that flows from deep within. When you look upon them, you see only the beloved, for you know only the beloved exists, and your praise is unmatched. Words cannot speak of this state, for they are but concepts of a world that no longer exists for you. And yet there is a new language you have learned, the language of the heart, of love itself. And notice love is capitalized. It's the big love. And you are that love now. And it's signed Brother. And the art of spiritual peacemaking is given to the world from Jesus, Yeshua. And it is given in the name of Brother because he wants to impress upon us that we are all the same. There's not somebody up here and somebody down here. We are all the same, and he is our brother. And we are his sisters and brothers. And that's the message. The whole book is that message from Brother to us as humanity. And how can we take that example and love with it? Most of you have probably seen various pictures of Jesus knocking on the heart's door. And when I was a child, is knocking on the door and you have to do something and open that door and do something so he can do something to save you from whatever it is you're not doing right or something like that. It was a pretty ambiguous message and it was kind of convoluted for me. And I couldn't really understand how Jesus was going to save me as a child. And yeah, I could walk down to the preacher and I could say, you know, whatever you need to say and get baptized and all of that. But it didn't feel like I was saved from anything. It's just my experience. So I was looking at this picture one day and I thought, there's got to be something else. And then what I realized was, it's Christ consciousness that is asking to be invited into our heart, into our life, and to live a different way, with a different perspective, and with different, perhaps different behaviors. We're born in love, but we lose it along the way sometimes. So Christing happens at the heart, physically. Christing happens when we give attention to the heart space. And I had a beautiful meditation this week that was given to me by a woman who said, we always pay attention to the front of the heart so that we're always giving and we're giving to people, we're taking care of things, we're doing and doing and doing. But what if we paid attention to the back side of the heart too? And we just felt the invisible hand of Source, of God, just with God's hand to our back, knowing that the universe has our back, that the love that we are is always in us. Sometimes it gets covered up, but it's always in us. So can we remind ourselves to receive the support of the universe? And you can do that with prayer, meditation, simply being in nature. You can do that in a lot of ways. But it's important that we understand that we are not doing anything as human beings. We do a lot, but we're not doing anything in the Christ realm as a human being unless we are expressing love. So I just wanted to make that important point. And then the next one, I don't know if you noticed when I was reading the word grace, and I apologize for my slides. I'm going to do better next time. But grace is the free and unmerited favor of God. All that means is we don't have to do anything. We just are. And if we receive the support that the universe offers us, that's our being, and that's what we're here to do. If we have to do, that's it. So, these are kind of some of the symptoms. So I have a question. How many of you did hear somebody say this morning, you are the awakened heart? Almost did everybody? How did that make you feel?
Better.
Better.
Loved.
Loved.
Awaken.
Awakened. Oh, gosh. Anybody else? The first time somebody said it to me, I felt unworthy. I felt like I don't really deserve that acknowledgement or that recognition. But I've been practicing it for a long time. So I looked at, well, what does it really mean if we have a Christed heart? How am I going to see that? Well, I've already told you one story, but here's some of the ways. Small acts of love is one of the most important things. I mean, you can walk into any grocery store and you can see humanity at many different places in behaviors. But when you notice there's a smile, there's a gesture, if there's congestion, somebody steps aside, somebody else goes through. Those are the little things that show us and remind us that we carry love. And other people carry it too. And we're seeing ourselves as humanity in all of it. It's important to have compassion. And just yesterday, I heard Matthew Fox say, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody say it quite this way before, but he said compassion is simply justice. Equal justice. And there's no other kind of justice. So again, when we're growing up, we're taught some people are better, some people are not as good. Most of us feel unworthy. because there are always these people that are so much better than we are. And now, if we really implement compassion, we nurture ourselves and others. And that's really simple. But the simple thing is, we have to remember, the universe has my back. Source is there, coming, all the time, coming to me, if I allow it and if I invite it. So I had another wonderful story that came to my attention. How many of you heard about Grandma Joy? Oh, you people got to get out more. Okay, this is a delightful story. So Brad is Grandma Joy's grandson. And when he was a little boy, he and Grandma, she lived in Ohio in a little town, and they took some trips together to the state park. And they became very close and very bonded. And they really enjoyed each other. And as Brad grew up, he didn't spend quite as much time with his grandma, but somewhere in his teenage years, his mother and dad got a divorce. And he perceived that his grandma took the wrong side. And so 10 years of no contact with grandma. 10 years, went to veterinarian school. He took a job at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. as a veterinarian. And then one day, a couple of things happened. One thing that happened was one of his very bright and promising classmates committed suicide. It was a big wake-up call for Brad, and he began to think about mortality. He was only in his 30s, I think, at that time. 20s maybe. So then he visited his hometown, and he just happened to run into his grandma. Hadn't seen her in 10 years, hadn't talked to her in 10 years. And he had a sudden realization he really loves her. Regardless of whatever it was that came between them, he really loves her. So he began to spend more time with her, and he asked her one day, he said, Grandma, you're getting up there, she's 85 now at this time of this conversation. So he says, do you have any regrets? She says, you know I do. She said, I never got to see the ocean. I never got to see the mountains. I just lived in my little town and done this little state park, and that's all I've ever done. But I love nature. And of course, Brad loved nature. And so he had this brilliant idea. Let's take Grandma to the Smoky Mountains and let her at least see the mountains. Well, guess what? At the age of 85, she climbed Lincoln's Dome at the age of 85. And then he got some further inspirations and decided that because they could enjoy many sacred spaces together, that he was going to take her to the different national parks. So they started having a goal. For 4 years, they visited various national parks. She rolled down a bank of sand dune. And he said, why are you doing that? She said, because I can. And there's a long list now of the places that they've been. He started a GoFundMe page so that he could afford to take off work to take Grandma to these places. And now they're at a point where they're working on how we're going to get her to Alaska and Hawaii, to those national parks. Now she's 89. And by the way, the first time when they went to, let me back up. When they went to the Great Smoky Mountains, he set up a tent. She slept in it with him at the age of 85. I don't sleep in them now at my young age. So I find it really interesting, the things that we think about people, and then love makes all the difference. So now Brad and Grandma are going everywhere, and they're having a great time. But I want to talk about the pain, because pain is what took Brad to reconnect with his grandma. The pain of losing his classmate and the realization of having lost his grandma for 10 years. So the other day I was taking a walk and I was thinking about pain, because I have knee pain, okay? So I was thinking about, okay, this pain's trying to tell me something. Now what is it trying to say to my body? Well, maybe it's saying several things, I don't know. But anyway, I started thinking about it, and I got this little epiphany that pain is just a symptom of something that's wrong in our human body. So what about our collective humanity body? Where's the pain there? Where is our compassion there? Where is our awareness of what's underneath the pain itself? Now, I'd probably go to a doctor and get my knee fixed. I wish it was that easy to fix humanity. But I'm saying all of this to say we can exercise compassion. We can exercise love. And we can give our love in the places that we might not have ever given it. We might not have ever thought about before. And Dean and I had some conversation about when there's a shooting like in El Paso, that's probably one of the most recent ones. And everybody's praying for the victims, and everybody's praying for the victims' families. Who's praying for the shooter? Where is the compassion for the shooter who is simply letting us know that there's something in humanity that needs attention? And we can make more laws, but I don't think the laws are going to change the woundedness. There's so many things that are indicative of the pain of humanity's wounds. And I'm suggesting to all of us, I'm putting myself at the top of the list, that as I go about my day to day, that I look and see where is there a person that I can bless in some way today. Maybe it's just a smile. Maybe it's just a touch. Maybe it's just a little blessing that they don't even hear. But if I see somebody homeless, just bless them. The hardest place for me to bless is on the highway. I have to admit. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one based on conversations that I've had with other people and things that I've observed. But years ago, I learned to practice when a person is not flowing in traffic the way I think they should. I bless them. And then I say, if I can tell if it's a male or a female, then I say, bless you and may you arrive safely at your destination. And the other thing that I try to remember is to do no harm. When I get in my car, I do a prayer. I will do no harm while I'm behind the wheel of this car. Now, those are little bitty things that all of us can do. And we can bless anybody, anywhere, anytime with an intention to keep our soul and heart connected and in and active in the world. So, let me see what the next slide says. There's that compassion again, and again I apologize, but I have a big red yes there that you can't really see because the computer changed everything when I tried to convert it over to your system. But that's okay. We'll take what we can get. So this week I also saw an average woman on the street took a video across the street of this man. He was tall, gray-haired man. And there was a young guy sitting on the edge of the sidewalk with his legs facing the wall on the other side of the sidewalk, and he had no shoes. And this tall man said to the young man, "What size are your feet?" And he said, "Size 13. Now, we couldn't hear all this. This was reported later, what the conversation was, because they asked the guy. And the man took off his shoes and gave them to this young man. And you see the video of him walking down the street in his bare feet, having given his shoes to this young man, because the young man is in his 20s, and he's homeless at this point. At that point that it started, he was homeless. And he said, if I just had shoes, I could get a job. But I can't afford shoes because I don't have money. And he didn't want to beg for money. So he just was sitting there on the street trying to figure out how he could do that. So somebody, and we don't even know who the tall guy in the gray hair was, but his heart was open enough that he saw a need, and he stopped and he met the need to his own, perhaps detriment, depending on what he had to step on his way home in his bare feet. But that's just a little thing. I'm sure the guy could probably afford several more pairs of shoes when he gave them away. So what happened as a result of this being reported on the local television station was this man who has a food truck business looked up this young man who had just received his new pair of shoes, and he said, I believe in second chances, and I'll give you a job if you will work hard for me. And the guy said, I will. I will work hard for anybody who will give me a job. And that's, again, what can I do? The question keeps coming up, what can I do? How can I impact the wounds of humanity? And it's just by simply loving and respecting and honoring each other as we go about our daily life. And I think this is the best thing I can say to you today. You are the awakened heart. And when you walk out of here, just be that. You don't have to do anything except what your heart and soul call you to do. That's it. It's that simple. Namaste.
And now, a little twist here. Dean has written a song that he's going to do the second congregational song, so go ahead and stand up. The words will be up here, and Dean will lead us in song. This is weird. And then after that, we're going to have another special, and Debbie's going to sing for us. So, Debbie Preece over here. So, it's a wonderful, wonderful day.
So it's almost like having two specials.
Say
It's a
that.
special day.
So if you don't catch on right away, just start when you can, when you feel it. We're going to put the words up here on the screen. And it is. So it's only a coincidence that this song is titled almost the exact same title of Reverend Wanda Gail's talk. And she asked me to pick some music to use this morning. And I said, well, I've got a song that I just wrote that I've never played, and it's got almost exactly the same title. So it's called You Are the Awakened Heart. Let's see if this guitar's going to work. Oh, yeah.
how can you hold back when the whole universe is giving to you every moment? Your heart explodes and becomes a river of refreshment to all beings. And I feel like I've been blessed in so many ways, but one area of my life that I was holding back was music. I just didn't have confidence my whole life that I could share the songs or the music that was in my heart. But so two years ago, I actually was taking a class with Renee Beckman called It's Never Too Late, and surprised myself, and I actually wrote my first song. It was called Never Too Late. And if you want to give us a sermon on that, okay. So this was the second song that I wrote. It's called Change the World, and it's kind of a mini biography of my life. I grew up in Chicago on the south side, the bad part of town, and I didn't go to church and didn't believe in God, and I was just so confused. My parents had been divorced. I lived in this cruddy neighborhood, saw people sleeping in the street and people taking drugs. It was just such a confusing time. And then I met someone, and I found out that there actually is a God. And so that's what this song is about, and the important lessons I learned through that. And trusty piano is going to accompany me as well. Hold on. When I was younger, all alone and blue, it seemed the world was so messed up with nothing I could do. So much confusion in my heart, watching people fight and families torn apart. I saw people taking drugs to stop feeling, people making love with no meaning, homeless people lying in the street, and it was making me weep, cry, 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 cry. Then I met a man who changed my life. He said that God has a plan to end all strife. My teacher told me that God is real, and He's waiting for us all to wake up and be the hands that He heals. 'Cause there's too many children crying, too many people dying, too many gunshots firing in the dark, and it's breaking His heart. Yes, it's breaking God's heart. It's breaking His heart. I was no believer when I heard this news, but when I thought about the life I was living, I had to choose between giving up because politicians are lying. Kids are taking drugs and dying. Blacks and whites are fighting in the street. So we just can't sleep. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Everybody wake up. There is a reason that you were born, and it sure isn't just making money for more and more. So find your purpose and do your part. Make a difference with your life and follow your heart. Then we'll see people everywhere unite, and history rewriting. Hope all around, igniting the flames of love from heaven above. 'Cause it's all about love. Yes, it's all about love. It's all about love. Do something to change the world. You gotta do something to change the world. Come on and do something to change the world. Let's all